What is going on? My name is Psyche, and welcome back to Dead Cells. So today will finally be the day where I do a survival run. So I know that in the last couple weeks I've been just trying out the different weapons of Fatal Falls. However, the items that I never really tried out were the survival items, so such as the Scarecrow's sickle, the Cocoon, as well as the Iron Staff. The reason for this is because, if I'm gonna be honest, survival is my least favorite color to play, and I have the lowest win rate when I play survival. I've actually tried to record footage for a survival run like a couple days ago, except I just kept on dying and I just felt really discouraged from trying any further. Finally, I've put together an interesting run that I think you guys will definitely enjoy. So I post content about Dead Cells, about guides, as well as 5BC runs, just like this one. So if that is interesting to you, make sure to subscribe to the channel. It takes up no time and it really helps me out. And if you ever change your mind, you can always just unsubscribe. So I said this a couple minutes ago, but I have the lowest win rate on survival. Because if I'm gonna be honest, I feel that survival has the least amount of good items and the least amount of variety. So there are a lot of synergies that are exclusive to survival, such as rooting or freezing synergy. The problem with these synergies is that you cannot use them against bosses reliably, since if you try to freeze a boss, you can do it for 1 second and then they will just be unfrozen, and once the boss gets down to 50% health, then you just can't freeze them anymore. Same goes for rooting. So in this build, I'm going to feature a Nutcracker build with the Boy's Axe. And the reason that I don't have them in my inventory right now at the beginning of the game is because I do all of my runs in normal mode. Since I think that is the way Dead Cells is supposed to be experienced. You just kind of go with the flow, adapt to what you can get, and kind of just see where your build ends up. I think that type of unpredictability is one of the aspects that makes Dead Cells fun, and it's managed to keep me engaged for a really long time because of this. Now obviously there is nothing wrong with playing on custom mode. I do it sometimes if I really wanted to test out a weapon. In the beginning of the game, even in the second biome, you can take whichever items you want that you get from the tubes, the starting tubes. Since colors don't really matter right now, just a hint, you should probably take tactics items because they're actually good. I think my favorite color to play in Dead Cells has to be tactics. You know, it's all about that high risk, high reward gameplay. Brutality is somewhere in between, and survival is a bit iffy for me. Now, I love to use shields in this game, however, when it's used in survival, I just feel like it's not as good, if that makes sense. So, in a previous build that I didn't record, I actually died to the concierge because I had a flint and I had a shield, but the thing is, I was getting too impatient with the fight since I'm so accustomed to brutality or tactics gameplay that I just felt like the fight has to be over within 2 minutes. And obviously, sometimes in survival, the fight does last for a really long time because you are given a lot of defensive capabilities, so it doesn't really make too much sense if you try to be aggressive in a survival build. Again, that's just the playstyle that I enjoy. Survival just doesn't really handle that well, so. However, fortunately, we are going to be trying out a lot of interesting synergies with this build, including the Cocoon, which I have actually used extensively before this video, and from what I've seen, it's actually kind of decent. I say kind of decent because it actually takes quite a lot of skill to use, and it takes a lot of time to get accustomed to it. Since now, instead of using a shield in your primary hands, you now have to use it in your skill slot. So that can take some practice of getting used to, and you'll see exactly how later on in the run. Here, I'm just gonna pick up the Boy's Axe because I see that nice rooting synergy with the Nutcracker, and I'm going to put the Punishment Shield inside my backpack, get the food, and move on forwards to the Corrupted Prison and take the Cursed Chest. I'm just gonna speed up the footage a little bit because I'm pretty sure no one wants to see me just running around fighting enemies. I do these cuts because I wanted to get my videos down to about 30 minutes in length. That's kind of how I want to post my videos, because I think that's the perfect length for people to view. I cut out all the parts that are uninteresting of me just running around the biome doing nothing, just searching for food or otherwise, but I will always include the full footage of me lifting curses as well as challenge rifts, and obviously bosses as well. So whenever the fights aren't really interesting, I'm just going to skip forward. So I'm recording this commentary video as of February the 6th, and by this time I've already exceeded 1,000 subscribers, though I have not yet released the Perry compilation yet, though that I'm going to do tomorrow. So that kind of gives you a perspective of how far ahead I'm recording these commentaries. This is because my schedule is highly unpredictable. I have a lot of stuff to worry about, especially with college and work. Because I have a lot of free time right now, I'm just going to record a lot of these videos ahead of time so that I can get them out in a consistent schedule. For those that are wondering, I upload every 3 to 4 days, so around 2 videos every week, which I think is pretty fair. This may not look like it, but these videos actually take a really long time to make because I have to play the game, and then I have to record the commentary, and then cut it out, and then record everything into a full video as well as add in the music at appropriate moments. If I were to work on these videos back to back, I'm gonna say they take me about like 4 to 5 hours to make one of these. And I just don't have that much time on my hands at the moment, so I'm just trying to use up as much free time as I have right now and make sure that I post content consistently throughout the weeks, so just keep that in mind as well. But other than that, I've been really surprised on how fast my channel was able to grow, because for some reason YouTube has been pushing out my videos to a lot of people. I think the reason for this is because like I cover a fringe game, and it's not like I have a lot of other competitors anyways. So in the Corrupted Prison, I got a double damage Cocoon, but obviously a double damage Cocoon is not very good. So I tried to re-roll it, but the thing is, I don't know if you saw, I re-rolled it like twice, and every single time it still had the double damage affix. And then I finally re-rolled it a third time, and finally it switched over to something else. I'm not sure if like I was just really unlucky or something, but anyways, we move on forwards to the Ancient Sewers. There we are. That was my first time using the Cocoon in this build, in this run, so that's been really nice. And Boy's Axe provides that range that we need to kind of lock down the enemy and doing critical hits. So I see Cocoon is like kind of a situational item since it covers one of your skill slots, and it's obviously kind of inferior to a shield. And here I'm just gonna use up a health pot. I was getting low, no need to risk anything. Some people are really stingy about taking health pots. If you're low at like this level, then it's fine, just take a health pot. It's best to play it safe. And on top of that, there is no food shop in the Ancient Sewers, so health is also going to be a lot of a concern for a lot of people in this biome. We find another challenge rift, and just like before, I'm going to speed up the footage. I want to show the entire thing, but obviously people don't really want to see me just like running through these in like normal speed. So just gonna double the speed and show the entire footage of me actually going through the challenge rift. And there we are. So this combo right now that we have is kind of just like use the Boy's Axe to lock down an enemy in place and then hit them with the Nutcracker since it does bonus damage to rooted enemies. And on top of that, we also have the Wolf Trap, which is extremely helpful. Now, Wolf Trap is like, its sole purpose is to lock down an enemy, but it's actually way more helpful than you would expect. Because Wolf Trap is like one of, if not the only way you can lock down bosses in the game. So if you have something like the Repeater Crossbow or like the Root Grenade, it cannot root bosses. Because once you get the boss down to like a specific threshold, then you just cannot root them or freeze them anymore. And Wolf Trap is like the only way you can prevent this. So you can still get in damage with the Nutcracker even if the boss is at low health, just with the Wolf Trap. So very, very helpful item. Some people might not realize it, but yeah, that's how it is. It's extremely helpful. And there, I'm just using the Boy's Axe to get in the axe attack and then just pull the axe back out for a lot of damage. I've also took Armadillo Pack, that's why I put the shield inside my backpack so I can get even more defensive options, since I think that's what survival really excels at, is defense. A lot of the fights feel like fights of like endurance, since you're just kind of like waiting for the boss to do their thing, and you take less of a aggressive approach in survival builds. But that's just kind of like my main opinions on it. Like I said before, playing on survival, I have the lowest win rate, since I'm not really accustomed to this kind of like defensive style, because I always just kind of go after the enemies myself, since I think that's more fun. I mean, if you look at a lot of footage, people would probably rather watch tactics gameplay rather than survival gameplay. And here, moving forwards to the Conjunctivius fight, the first attack will always be the dash attack, so just gonna parry that with the Cocoon. What I found out is that with the Cocoon, the parry window is like a couple milliseconds earlier than the shield, so you have to like press the Cocoon like a couple milliseconds earlier than you would with the shield, because there's like this weird animation with the bubble. The main strength of the Cocoon is you can like parry things from behind, and from what I've saw, the parry window is actually pretty big. You can use it to parry bombs, like you can knock bombs away with it, however it will not refresh the cooldown. That's something I learned and I tested off camera. I tried the Cocoon in a lot of situations while I was like testing on 0BC, and from what I've seen, a lot of the findings I find, even though you can like refresh the Cocoon if you actually parry something with it, it doesn't actually like, it doesn't function the same way as a shield. So if you have like the Timekeeper attack where she just like throws a bunch of shurikens at you, then you cannot parry that, because it's like the attacks come in such fast succession that even if you refresh the Cocoon, you won't have enough time to get in the animation, to get in the parry, because like I said before, there is an animation with the Cocoon where like where the Cocoon kind of like expands and then you do the parry. So we already got the Conjunctivius down to the second bit of its health, and I think the Boy's Axe is like confusing it a little bit, but I was able to get the parry in and end the fight. And there is the Conjunctivius fight. Sadly, I took some damage, so lost a no-hit, but I move on forward to the graveyard. And you'll see, just using the Cocoon to deflect the Inquisitor's projectiles, it's been working out really well for me so far. But honestly, if you would rather use a shield, then just use a shield, because the Cocoon, from what I've seen, is like an inferior version of a shield, but you can use it if you absolutely have to, such as if you have a two-handed weapon, since, you know, you can, even though you can fit a shield in your backpack, you can still pick up the Cocoon because it offers a lot more defensive capabilities. You'll see just how good this build has been. Like, a lot of the enemies, as long as I just root them with the Boy's Axe, they die in like one hit. And there we go with the Cocoon again. I wanted to show off as many like parries with the Cocoon as possible. And it does take a lot of skill getting used to, since, you know, you have to get accustomed to parrying first, which can take a while, and then you have to like use it effectively, because like your first instinct when you use the Cocoon is to use whichever button you have for the shield, since it's just like parrying, except now it's a skill instead of an actual shield. So there's like the bubble that comes out of the Cocoon is actually pretty big. Like it's actually pretty easy to parry with it. The only problem that I see with the Cocoon is you cannot move while the Cocoon is activated. So one thing that I thought I would be able to do with the Cocoon is, like, if I'm using the broadsword, since it's like a really slow weapon, then enemies will probably find a lot of opportunities to hit me. So what I thought I could do is like within the first combo of the broadsword, I can use the Cocoon in case something goes wrong, and if it did not interrupt my attack, then the broadsword is actually a lot more usable. But sadly, this is not the case, because the Cocoon will interrupt your attack. Just getting the curse now. Again, playing it safe, I'm going to skip over the parts where I just run across the level, nothing happens, you know, whatever. And for some reason I aggroed the elite catcher. I have no idea how I was able to do that, but thankfully it's the version with the invincibility crystal, so it's not going to come after me. 2 more kills left to lift the curse. I was just trying to get some like cheap shots on these rats, just trying to get them while their backs are turned, and this is gonna be a close one. I barely dodged the catcher, but thankfully I was able to lift the curse. So there are a lot of limitations when it comes to the Cocoon. I said this like a couple minutes ago, but it interrupts your attack and it stops you from moving when you use it. And sometimes you just cannot use it in general. Like when you're performing, like when your character is like literally in the middle of the animation in which like you're performing a combo, and I don't believe you can use the Cocoon. Though you kind of have to like test that out with various weapons to begin with, so that might not be accurate on my part. Moving forwards to the Undying Shores, I was still missing one more outfit from the Scarecrow, which I believe there are 5 outfits in total, though I'm not too sure about that. So one thing I found out about the Undying Shores, as well as the Fractured Shrines, is that you actually get 1 less scroll stat if you go to these locations, which I think is an oversight from the devs part. So I think like in every single other biome with this level, so like Still Village, Graveyard, Slumbering Sanctuary, you get at least 4 scroll stats, but in the Fractured Shrines as well as the Undying Shores, you only get 3. So it's probably just an oversight on the devs part, so it'll probably be fixed sometime in the future. Because I don't really see much reason to come to these locations if the rewards you get is like way less. I do like their concepts as levels though. I think they're really cool area locations. So the devs did say that they were releasing a hotfix sometime, though I'm not sure when that's gonna come out. It's gonna fix a lot of the bugs with the game, and even like with the 2.1 Malaise update, there's still some bugs. So I know there's like sometimes the Malaise just gets cleared even though you clearly haven't like killed 85% of the enemies in that biome yet, so sometimes it's a bit inconsistent. There's still a lot of bugs that need to be fixed. It's reasonable that the Malaise update isn't on console, I believe, so I think it's like a PC only thing for now. But the main difficulties of this build will come from bosses, I believe, since bosses, they just don't like to be frozen or rooted. It's going to take a lot of effort to beat the Scarecrow. I know the Scarecrow does a lot of fast attacks with its scythe, but I think it's not as fast as like the Time Creeper's Shuriken attack. So I thought I would be able to like chain together parries with the Cocoon, since it's not that fast, and I really want to see that happen because it's like, it showcases more of the weapon, and I've never really used the Cocoon extensively before anyway, so it's kind of like experimental for me. And I'm all about having new experiences with different weapons because I think variety is what makes this game stand out. Armadillo Pack is doing a lot of good work for me. Just gonna roll through all the bombs and it's just gonna parry all of them and turn into like the friendly bombs. I see a failed experiment elite, but I'm just not gonna bother with it because I don't feel like dealing with it. It's invincible and the spaces that I get to fight it in is really small, so you kinda have to deal with what you get. Here I'm just gonna upgrade both of my equipment, the Nutcracker as well as the Cocoon, get some food, and I move on forwards to the Mausoleum to fight the Scarecrow. So this is gonna be the first time I fight Scarecrow with the Cocoon, so I'm wondering how well it's gonna go. My build has a pretty slow setup, so I think that is going to like hurt it somewhat. So I'm just going to try out the Cocoon. Like, I know bosses don't like to be rooted, but like, I think it's actually working out sometimes. So I'm just trying to throw the Boy's Axe just like I did with all the other weapons. And with this watering can attack, I find out that you can just roll through it, though the roll timing is a bit weird. Again, with the scythe attacks, I know you can like parry the scythes, but the timing is a bit weird on that one as well. And you'll see me just like kind of screwing up the wolf trap because I didn't know when the Scarecrow was going to attack. And I missed the parry with the Cocoon there, that's why there's now a cooldown, which is very unfortunate because I think the instant cooldown on the Cocoon is what makes it really viable. Since if you miss a parry, you kind of have to wait like 12 seconds. And that can be extremely detrimental. So we're just gonna pick up the final outfit, the 5th outfit, so it looks like I was wrong, and there are actually 5 outfits. So as far as I know, each boss has like 4 to 5 outfits exclusive to like beating them on various difficulties. So there's like a new outfit for like the different bosses in the game if you beat it on like 1, 2, 3, 4 boss cell modes. And finally I was able to get my last Scarecrow outfit, though I am gonna have to go into like 4 BC to actually unlock it. You're not allowed to spend cells in 5 BC mode, which I think they should actually change, because I don't know, I feel like going to 4 BC just so you can spend some cells is kind of like bad. But you saw there, I was able to chain together the Cocoon with the Automaton as well as the Rampager, so it looked really nice. And what I'm doing here is that I'm just isolating these enemies so I can kill them easier. Since all enemies will teleport to you, the Homunculus rune is incredibly helpful here. And with these trapped, rooted enemies, I'm just trying to like hit them with a Nutcracker and they're dead in no time. Again, I was really afraid about the Hand of the King fight, as well as the 5 BC boss. Survival runs, a lot of them do really well in biomes, so you look at something like the ice crossbow as well as the like heavy crossbow or even like the repeater crossbow. They do really well in biomes, but they will suffer a lot in bosses. And the problem is that because they're two-handed weapons, you can't really like switch them out for anything else. So I really like having flexibility in my builds. I knocked the Hand of the King into the spikes there. I don't really see that very often, but there you go. And you saw there, I was able to like knock away the bombs, but it did not refresh the parry window on the Cocoon, so that's something you gotta watch out for. And again, I don't know what I was doing, but I did waste like the charge on the Cocoon again. So Hand of the King goes up. This is actually good for me because it refreshes the Cocoon, and for some reason the disgusting worm just jumped into the spikes, which actually worked out really well in my favor because I don't want the disgusting worm to interfere with my fight with Hand of the King. And just gonna put the Boy's Axe down on the boss. This is it, and Hand of the King is down. Generally a pretty good fight. I did get hit, lost, so I didn't get the no-hit. Move on forwards to the Astrolab, and I was feeling pretty good about this one because this is actually like the furthest I've gotten. And I've tried to like play with survival runs for like the last 5 hours, and by the point I actually took a break because I just wasn't winning and I was like getting tired. But thankfully it feels like the rooting synergy, the Boy's Axe, does really well against the slammers, since it kind of just locks them down and they can't attack you. So yeah, just like this one, drop the wolf trap, and because they're rooted they can't really like turn around. So that's like one of the major benefits about using rooting synergy, as well as freezing now that I think about it. Get into a lot of tricky situations here with 2 bombers. Just try to roll when it's appropriate and eventually they will die. And you'll see me use the Homunculus rune every now and then because I wanted to isolate the failed experiment apart from the Magistrates of Death. Again, this is something that I will probably, like, this is a tip I'll probably put in my 4 BC general tips guide once that comes out. I mean, whenever that will be. But like, you are allowed to use the Homunculus rune, and it's something that newer players will generally like negate, that they won't use since it doesn't feel that beneficial. But trust me, when you get to 4 or 5 BC, it's actually extremely helpful, and you'll just be really happy that it's in the game. So here again, because like the Magistrates have really like weird movement patterns, I wanted to isolate them from the failed experiment. And here again, just trying to like, because there were a bunch of like light beams flying around, I didn't want to get hit by them. So I'm just gonna use the Homunculus rune to bring them down here because I didn't feel like fighting them on such a dangerous terrain. And the Homunculus rune can prevent just that. Just lure enemies to your location, and there you go. So this is gonna be a bit tricky. Yeah, I got hit a bunch of times, but for some reason they just weren't gonna teleport to me, since the failed experiment is like an elite and it has the invincibility bubbles. So for those who don't know, if an elite has those like invincible crystals flying around, then they will never teleport to you. I think that's the case with a lot of like invulnerable enemies. So if an enemy is like shielded, then they will not teleport to you. And here I'm just gonna buy the food and kill the remaining 2 elite slammers. Now here is gonna be a bit tricky because I wanted to reroll my mutations, but the thing is I've already rerolled them like 2 times in this run already, and I needed 4,000 gold to do that. And I was just trying to go around and kill more enemies, but sadly I was just like a bit behind and I wasn't getting 4,000. But thankfully when I came off the elevator, I forgot that I didn't collect the gold from the other elite rampager, so I was able to exceed 4,000, and on top of that I also got 60 kills, and it allowed me to destroy another item which got me another 1,000. Not that it really matters at this point, but anyways, move on forwards to the collector boss fight. This is going to be the final stretch of the game, and I knew this is going to be the part where the Nutcracker is going to struggle a bit, because I know the collector doesn't like to be rooted, just like a lot of the other bosses. And unlike the other bosses, this fight will actually take a pretty long time. So again, with the Cocoon, it functions just as well as a shield. And because the collector's attacks aren't that fast, I am able to chain together my Cocoon parries, which already we got the collector down to 1 heal, and I have not yet expended a health charge, so it's been going pretty well for me so far. Gonna teleport me to the room with the enemies. Again, this part is really not a big deal. Just get some throws in with the voice axe and kill all of them at once. Almost down to the second health charge for the collector. And here, don't know what I was doing, but got some parries in with the Cocoon again. Collector's down to the second heal, and you'll see how much this build's going to suffer. Because I used the wolf trap, but it just wasn't working. Same goes for the boys axe. You saw me throw the boys axe, but again, the boss just isn't getting rooted. And this is one of the main problems that I have with survival builds, since they're not always viable. If you have rooting, then it's hard to fight bosses. So that's something that I just don't really like. We got teleported to the room with the spike ball flying around. Thankfully, I didn't get hit by it, and I was able to get out of there and enter the final stretch of the game. You saw me do a parry with a Cocoon in mid-air. That looked really nice. I don't know why, but the collector keeps doing the meteor attack. Sorry, not the meteor attack, the ground slam attack, which a lot of people think is very annoying. Again, with the Cocoon parries, just do what I can. This part of the fight will last for a pretty long time, since I cannot root the boss anymore. So not only that I have such a slow attack speed with the Nutcracker, I also can't really get the attacks in. And for some reason, I don't know what happened there. Some of the meteors just didn't reach me, but for some reason the last one did. Really inconsistent. I've already expended 3 health charges, so suddenly at this point things aren't looking so good. I don't think that last hit was my fault, because I didn't know the meteor was going to strike. Anyways, finally we get the panacea and I drink it. Brings me back to full health. And for some reason, I just get hit again. Yeah, things really aren't going too well for me right now. And there we go. I think... Nope. Okay. Hit one more time. After this, I think the collector will be down. So yeah, you see how much of a drag this has been with the Nutcracker, since I just don't really like survival builds in general. But finally, we got the win. And there we have it. So did I enjoy this run? Well, I don't know. I mean, I'm not really just a fan of survival builds in general, but I had fun with this run nonetheless. So with the Boys Axe and the Nutcracker, I had a really interesting combo, and because I couldn't fit a shield, I had to run Cocoon. So I think that's one of the few ways the Cocoon can really shine if you cannot spare one of your primary slots. So that has been a survival run featuring the Cocoon. Hopefully you have enjoyed it. In the meantime, I might do a build with the Iron Staff, maybe sometime in the future. So until then, thanks for watching.